So you feel like you're at your lowest point in your life, huh? I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's financial. I don't know if it's mental. I don't know if it's spiritual. But you clicked on this video because you feel like you're at your lowest point in your life. Well, guess what? This week has been a rough week for me too. And I'm going to tell you the exact things that I did to get out of that point. Let's talk about it. So let's get right into it. We're not going to waste no time. The first thing that I did this week, well, first of all, Monday, I woke up Monday and, I just felt like, what am I doing? Have you ever felt like that? Like, what am I doing? Like finances can be fine. Everything else could be working and business could be good. But for whatever reason, you still can feel like you're at your lowest point, and I was frustrated, but I was confused because I was like, damn, like I felt like this when I didn't have anything. I felt like this when nothing was working. Things are working really good right now. Why do I feel like this? And what I came up with is, anything can make you feel that way. But let me tell you what I did to get out of it. Because if you remain in that low point, then it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. You're not going to take any action. You're not going to move any mountains. You're not going to make any money. You're not going to be able to do nothing when you're feeling that way. So the first thing that I had to do, and I got my notes over here. The first thing I had to do was practice reframing. Now, if you don't know what reframing is literally changing how you look at whatever situation that you're going through, right? Let me show you how to make money online like this. Now, if you want to make your first $500 online, and I'm going to show you for absolutely free, click the link in the description and I'll show you how to make your first $500 online while you sleep, even if you just started today. I'll see you there. I remember years ago, right, when I played basketball, I played basketball and, there would be some times where I would go out on the court and be nervous, not knowing, I knew what to do, but I would be nervous, right? I would go out, have wide open layups, miss the layup, or have a game-winning shot, shoot it and miss, right? We lose by 1 point, 2 points, or go for a pass. I pass it to the other team, right? One thing that I'll always forget, always remember, I'll never forget this. You know how when you're a teenager, right, you got to get back in the car with your father, right? Because your father is in the stands watching the game. So I was nervous, I left the game. I look at my father, trying to see if I can test his temperature to see how the conversation home would be. And I saw him and he had a smile on his face. So I'm like, okay, well, it might not be that bad. So I get in the car and the first thing that he told me was, you really hustled out there. You missed a shot and then you went right back on defense. When you pass it to the other team, you turned right back around and found your defender and got back to work. He was able to take my negative thoughts about the game and reframe them into something positive. Now, the reason I told you that story is because that's what you have to practice in your life when you're feeling at your lowest point. You may be down on your finances. You may be down on your mindset. You may be down in your family. Your relationship could not be working. You may hate your job. But how you frame it is what makes it worse or better. For example, if you're in a financial crunch right now where you don't know what to do next, you can look at it like this. Like, you know what? I'm in a financial crunch right now, but at least I'm able to be in a financial crunch right now. There's people that died yesterday that don't even get the opportunity to even be in a financial crunch, right? If you're at a job that you don't like, I don't like this job too much, and I know eventually I'm going to get out of here, but you know what? I'm glad that I at least have a job. I'm grateful that I at least have a job because it allows me to be able to pay my bills. You see, when you reframe, you instantly change how you feel in the moment. It could take seconds. You instantly change how you feel. And once you do you still feel at your lowest point when you're happy? Absolutely not. So reframing just helps you get out of that, but it helps you long term. So practice reframing. Now, next thing is something that a lot of people might not want to hear. You might not want to hear this, but your suffering is your fault, but it's also not your fault. Now, the reason I say your suffering is your fault is because, the decisions you've made or the lack of decisions that you made, the money choices you've made, if we're talking about a financial low point, those are the decisions that you made. Nobody forced you to make those decisions. And another part of this is getting to the point where you're feeling like, you know what? I'm responsible for everything. No matter what happens in my life, I'm responsible. Right? So that's the reason why your suffering is your fault. Now, on the flip side, your suffering is also not your fault because of how you think. You see, when you were a baby, right, you had a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. Your conscious mind wasn't really active because you didn't think when you came out the womb that you were going to walk. You were going to eventually eat. You were going to drive a car one day. That's your conscious mind. Your conscious mind sees me with this big hat on my big head, and you hear my voice and you see my, you see my face. That's your conscious mind. But your subconscious mind is responsible for the actions you take, the actions you don't take, the things you invest in, the things you don't invest in, and how you move throughout your life. So, when you were a baby, your subconscious mind was molded like clay based on the people that you grew up around. Your mother, your father, your cousins, your environment. And the reason I like to say your suffering is not your fault is because if you grew up hearing, money don't grow on trees. You grew up hearing how broke people were. You grew up hearing those things. You end up once you start to be able to think for yourself, how do you think you're going to think? You're going to think exactly how you were molded. So, then, which brings me to my next point. Your suffering is your fault, but your suffering is not your fault when it comes to your thinking. When it comes to the decisions and the choices that you make, your suffering is your fault. When it comes to your mental and your environment and how you grew up and your subconscious mind, your suffering is not your fault. The reason these things are important is because you want to develop the habit that no matter what happens in your life, no matter how low of a point that you're at, you never blame anyone else for anything. Blame yourself. Blame yourself for everything. I am practicing a habit where I blame myself for everything. I don't blame nobody. I'm a grown man in my 40s. What do I look like still blaming my father or my mother for a reason that I'm living right, for something that's happening in my life right now? And that brings me to the next thing, There is no shame in being unwell. It's okay, Some days you're not going to feel it. Some days you're going to wake up and you're going to feel bad and you're not even going to know why sometimes. But it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. You can't beat yourself up on the days that you don't feel okay. It's okay. Embrace it. Don't try to quickly change it, and don't try to. One thing that I hate hearing people say is, hey, well, you got to think positive. You got to smile through it. That don't work. That don't work. I'm just going to keep it real. That don't work. When everything is going bad in your life, people want you to smile through it, think positive. It's easy for people to say that's already made it out. But when I'm talking about really going through something, thinking positive and smiling your way through it will not help you. That's bad advice. Embrace it. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to not be okay. Embrace that. Embrace it. Next, it's okay to find a distraction. Now when I say distraction, I don't mean go and medicate yourself on a bunch of weed or alcohol. I don't mean that. When I say distraction, I mean, one thing that really, really helps me, or something that I did a lot this week when I felt like that, I dropped everything. I dropped everything and I went and I took a walk. I went and took a walk. I let the wind hit my face. The sun, just worked on me. And I was able to I walked for like 30 minutes to an hour around my neighborhood. And when I got back, I felt better. I felt better. There's something about getting outside that just changes everything for me, you know. But that was my distraction. That was the distraction that I needed to be able to have in order to not just sit back and harbor over these feelings. I had to get out of it. I had to get away from it. I had to get away from everything. And it's okay to find a distraction. Next, you don't have to be brave. Now, this is for my men out here. I know, when I was younger too, you know, everybody told me, hey, you better not cry. You better not cry. You better stand up like a man and take it. Deal with it. It's okay to not be brave, man. It's okay. It's okay. Us men, we're brought up, you know, thinking that, you know, or getting told that it's bad to think, you know, to feel bad. You know, it's okay. It's okay. Now, next, there's nothing wrong with being alone. There's nothing wrong with being alone. In fact, I've made a mistake in my life when I was at my lowest point where I went and got around a bunch of people. But the people that I got around was the wrong people. I did not belong around those people. And what I discovered is it's okay to be alone. Most people can't be alone. They can't be alone. They will go crazy being alone. Me, I like being alone. I don't mind being alone. I went on a cruise for 7 days by myself. My wife didn't like it, but I went for 7 straight days by myself because I needed to get away and I needed to do it by myself. I didn't need nobody with me. I didn't need no conversations. I didn't need no distractions. I needed to do it by myself. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to do that. My wife is getting ready to go on a convention trip by herself. Now, normally I would be like, well, no, I mean, I'm going to come with you because I'm available, right? But it's like, you know what? Let her go and self-reflect. Let her go and enjoy herself, you know? Because sometimes we need that as people, as human beings. We need to get away, and sometimes we need to be by ourselves. So it's okay to be alone. Now, here's the big thing. Every end has a new beginning. Specifically, if you're talking about or thinking about, if you're at your lowest point because of a financial situation, every end has a new beginning. So even when it feels like the end, even when it feels like it's not going to get any better, it's getting better. Even when it feels like it's not changing, it's changing. Even when it feels like you're never going to get out of this situation, you are. And that's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of it. It's always a new beginning when there's an end. And really, there's a lot of things that ended that I didn't want to end. But after, I was so grateful that it ended. So grateful. So honestly, an ending is usually a blessing in disguise. It's a blessing in disguise. Next, something that I recently got into is meditation. You know, meditation. And the reason I used to think I had meditation confused. All of these years, I thought that meditation was about sitting, you know, in the Indian, you know, sitting with your legs crossed, doing a bunch of that. And really, I was wrong. You know, meditation is really about calming your mind down. You know, one thing that we can't stop is we can't stop our thoughts. Whether they're negative, whether they're positive, we cannot control the thoughts that we have. And you want proof of that? Sit down and meditate for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and watch all the thoughts and the things that come to your mind. You will be like, why am I thinking about this right now? We can't control what we think. We can't control it. Meditation, though, I'm still getting used to it. I'm not a meditation master, but I understand the benefits. It's literally to quiet your mind down. And why would you need to quiet your mind down? Because when you're at your lowest point, your thoughts are in control 100%. You're thinking about how things are not working. You're thinking about the past. You're thinking about everything that didn't work. You're thinking about everything that, you know, like meditation helps. You quiet your mind. You get in a place where nobody else is around you. And you just, I like to listen to hemi-sync tones. If you go to YouTube and you type in hemi-sync meditation, it's specific tones that literally work on your brain. Now, I recommend if you do that, use wired earphones, because the earphones I have, they don't really allow me to get the frequency the way it's supposed to on both earphones. I have to, matter of fact, after I do this video, I'm gonna go get some wired earphones, because having wired earphones allows the frequency to go equally in both earphones, and that's what you need. But meditation is something that literally helped me get out of a lot of my lowest points, and like I said, I've only been doing it for a couple months, and sometimes I don't feel like doing it. I'm gonna keep it honest, but I still do it anyway, at least once a day, because we all, after a long day, we all need to quiet our mind down. We all need to focus and ground ourselves and just literally focus on our breathing, and just get to the point to where you're in control. Now, next, improve your environment. Improve your environment. Now, when I say improve your environment, I mean, like I said, go to the park. Going to the park is improving your environment. Or here's another thing. There's been some times where, my lowest point is not connected to finances. It's not connected to anything happening in my business per se. I can walk in the house and dishes will be piled up. My daughter didn't do the dishes or something like that. That can put me in a mental space where I'm feeling cluttered and I'm feeling like, you know what I'm saying? And when you feel like that, you got to improve that environment. You got to get away. You got to improve that environment. Last but not least, reflect and be grateful. Now, that's something that I said earlier, but a wise man told me you can't get more until you're grateful for what you have. You can't get more until you're grateful for what you have. And sometimes when you're at your lowest point, it doesn't feel good to be grateful. And I'm being honest. It doesn't feel good. You don't want to think about all of the things that everybody tells you to think about when something's not working. That's the last thing you want to think about. But it helps your mind stay focused on what is working, not what's working, not what is working, not what's not working. Excuse me, tongue twister. As long as you're focused on what's not working, you're going to get more of that. As long as you're focusing on what is working or what you do have that you're grateful for, you're going to get more of that. You don't get what you want. You get what you focus on. So what are you focusing on? Don't focus on your lowest point. Focus on acknowledging that, hey, I'm feeling some type of way and it's okay. It's okay. I'm feeling some type of way and it's okay. Let me reframe. Why am I feeling like this? I'm grateful that I at least have breath in my body. I'm grateful that, and you start to go down and those things, you do these things that I talked about in this video and you will feel better and you will get out of that slump like that. But it's going to require practice. Because one thing that we don't ever have to practice is thinking negative. That's something we don't have to practice. We already know how to do that on autopilot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Have a great day. Peace.